Good morning from beautiful Bali. I am actually in the middle of a webinar right now, and I thought I would take you guys behind the scenes. So this is my little work setup. It's not all playing at the beach when I'm in Bali. Just kidding. That is what I do for the most part. But what I do is I pre-record my webinars. And don't worry, I'm not one of those people who like says they're live when they're not. I actually am still live, so I'm chatting with people here while the webinar's playing. But what I do is I just pre-record the slides portion, because I've just had one too many webinars with tech issues. So what I do is I just pre-record that part, and I just tell people ahead of time, like, hey, I'm live, but like this part is pre-recorded, just FYI, because I like to be very transparent. But anyways, what is today's video even about? I don't know. Okay, I thought of a good topic for today's video, because this is something that I get asked a lot, and that is, how do you stand out with a nutrition business online? Because if you are a nutritionist, or even just somebody who's interested in health and wellness, you're probably like, well, everybody's already doing what I want to do, so like, why would anybody work with me? How am I going to stand out? And those are definitely all questions that all of my clients have had at some point, and that I even had myself. So I'm going to be talking about a few things that you can do to really make yourself stand out online, attract the right types of clients, and make the income that you want from your business online. So first thing that I would say is that when you're thinking about a niche, and if you haven't even thought about that yet, I think that's the place to start. And that's what's gonna set you apart as a nutritionist in the world of nutrition. So you don't just become a nutritionist online and in your website copy and in your Instagram bio and all of those things, just you try and appeal to everybody, because you're never going to reach anybody if you do that. So my tip would be to really find as specific of a niche as possible. And the way to do that is just accept the fact that whatever you choose is not going to appeal to everybody. Because if you pick a niche that appeals to everybody and you feel like, I can help everybody, so I want everybody to feel welcome when they come to my website, etc., you're not gonna reach anybody. So I know that sounds scary, like you don't wanna be pushing certain clients away or things like that, but I'm telling you, the more specific that you can get, the better. So one way to figure out what your niche might be is to think about the past struggles that you've had, maybe the things that have led you to nutrition in the first place. And I'm just gonna say it, but if you feel like your niche is helping the world become healthier, that's not a niche. Or helping the world eat healthier, or helping people feel better. Those are all really great, bigger visions, but those aren't going to really connect or like hit the pain points of your ideal client. And that's kind of what you want to focus on. So an example of how to determine your niche would be, like for me, let's say, I got into nutrition after years of having struggled with disordered eating, because I felt like shit, honestly. And so once I started really focusing on the quality of food and eating more food, nutrient-dense food, I was able to heal a lot of different things in my body, like increased energy. I was able to, regulate my hormones, my skin improved, things like that. And so putting myself back into that mindset of where I was when I was feeling all of those painful feelings. So think about the things that were a real struggle for you, because that's what's going to connect you to your audience. So if I'm putting myself back in my shoes for my example, I'm thinking about that crippling fatigue when I was eating shit food and not eating enough of it, and how I never felt like doing anything. I had horrible moods. I was tired all the time. I didn't feel like doing anything except sitting on the couch and watching e-news. I never would have been able to start a business. Like all of those things that I dreamed of, I just did not have the energy to do. I also didn't have a normal menstrual cycle. I didn't have regulated hormones. I had acne all over my jaw and chin. So like all of those things, I can really put myself back into that mindset of what it felt like to be struggling with all those. And when I started out as a nutritionist, obviously now I do business related stuff only, but when I started out as a nutritionist, that's who I was speaking to on my website. So even though I could help a 30-year-old man who was struggling with, I don't know, whatever men struggle with, even though I could have helped him, like let's say he was struggling with like blood sugar regulation, I could have totally helped him, but that's not who my ideal client was. So if he was to come to my website and saw that my website copy was like talking to, you know, women in their 20s with adrenal fatigue and disordered eating, he would immediately be turned off by that, and that's actually a really, really good thing. So as specific as you can get with your niche, the better. Good morning, guys. It is a new day. I kind of just stopped filming abruptly yesterday because I was finishing up with my launch. But today we just went surfing. Well, Eric went surfing this morning. I just walked on the beach. But we're headed to a lunch place that is called Bali Bowls, which I'm super excited to show you guys. And then I will finish with my top tips about standing out as a nutritionist online. And another thing that's really exciting, because I never do this, is that I actually went shopping yesterday afternoon and got a few new things. One of them is this romper that's super cute. So I would show you in the mirror, but it's like really dark in here. But anyways, gotta be really careful not to nip slip in this. So it's helping me work on my posture. But I will, what was I gonna say? But I will talk to you guys soon once we get to Bali Bowls. Okay, just got to Bali Bowls. So cute. I love how cute these little cafes are here in Bali. Definitely not a lack of good healthy food here, which is awesome. Hello. Definitely gonna sit over here by the fan. Yeah, let's sit over there. And this place I think is known for their smoothie bowls. So there's a lot of options on there, but they also have Buddha bowls, which is like one of my favorite things that I've been eating like every day. So I'll probably get one of those. They also have poke bowls, tons of options. Okay, so my second tip for standing out as a nutritionist online is to build a personal brand. So what I mean by this, and I talk way more about this in depth in the Digital Nomad Nutritionist course, but it means obviously you have your very specific niche, but then you also have things about you that attract you to your ideal client that aren't necessarily related to your niche. So for example, for me, my niche is that I am like an online business and social media coach for nutritionists primarily, but there are a lot of other things just that are, you know, quirky about my personality or about my past or my interests that I talk about on my different social media channels or on my YouTube channel that really attract me to a very specific type of person, and also they're a part of my brand. So when somebody thinks about me, they think about, you know, my title, my title as a business coach or whatever, but they also think about those other like little quirks that make me different from every single other online business coach that's out there. So an example of some of the parts of my personal brand would be like minimalism. So if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I've lived in multiple tiny houses and I really focused on minimalism for a long time. Travel is a passion of mine, so that's part of my personal brand. Just being rebellious or being a rebel, like my name, is totally a part of my personal brand, and it's kind of what set me apart as a nutritionist in the first place, because I was coming at nutrition from a very different angle than most people. Eric is a part of my personal brand. So it's really cool because when you are able to, and it's so much easier to build a personal brand when you're getting on video frequently, because you're able to just show people into your day-to-day life and have your audience really get to know you and the different quirky things about you that can really set you apart from every single other person out there who's doing the exact same thing that you want to be doing. Okay, I thought of one more part of my personal brand too, and as you may have noticed if you've watched any number of my YouTube videos, is that I don't often wear makeup, I don't often have my hair done, and honestly, those two things, as little as they may seem, are actually a part of my personal brand, and they're just part of me, to be honest. I mean, it's hot as F in Bali and I don't really do my makeup. And that actually does really set me apart in a lot of ways from a lot of other YouTubers and vloggers, and you know, I've sometimes thought about letting it stop me from like creating content, but that banging has got to stop. But like I've said this before, if I was waiting until I always looked perfect, which never happens, then I would never get anything done. So also a part of my personal brand is about imperfection and starting before you're ready and starting before everything is perfect, because otherwise you might not ever do the things that you want to do. Oh, thank you. Looks good. This looks great, thank you. Okay, so we just got to our new Airbnb. We actually can't get inside yet because it's not ready. So we're just chilling over here. And this vlog is officially taking place over the course of 3 days because after we had lunch yesterday, we went to another place to work and I started feeling really sick, and then I was sick like pretty much all afternoon and night, so I didn't get any more vlogging done. But I am going to, I'll probably do a house tour next once we are able to get into our Airbnb, and then I will give my third tip for standing out online as a nutritionist. Okay, here is our next Airbnb. Super basic and really cute, but the air conditioning works and that's really all I care about. And then also there's a really cute and nice little shared pool out there, and then they have like a fridge and like coconuts down there you can drink, which is really cool. And there's pretty rice patties. I love this place. And it's actually kind of a funny story. I should have vlogged it, but I didn't. The place that we checked into before this, actually the original place that we booked via Airbnb, it ended up being less than stellar. The AC didn't work and it smelled like mold. And when we got there, the guy was like telling us that there had been a bunch of break-ins. We're like, don't really want to stay here. So now we're at a new place and hoping that we get refunded for the last place we booked, but we've just kind of realized that we're getting bougie in our old age, so we better start just planning to stay at nicer places because I can't live without an AC, especially after having been sick all last night. So okay guys, I am back sitting on our deck of our new Airbnb. It's really cute out here. So I thought this would be a good place to finish off the vlog. But tip number 3 for standing out online as a nutritionist is to know who your audience is. So this tip really goes back to the first tip about knowing what your niche is and being as specific as possible. Because if you don't know who your audience is and who you're speaking to, your words and your website copy and all of the content that you create isn't going to connect with anybody. So a good way to think about this, and the advice I hear around this topic a lot is like from other business coaches, is like to create a fake avatar of your ideal client. And I don't really recommend doing that, especially for people that haven't had any one-on-one clients yet, because just pulling that out of thin air is really hard to do, and it just feels really distant if you've never had that specific type of client, to just like pull it out of thin air that your ideal client is a 35-year-old woman with PCOS. Like if you've never had that client, that's going to be really hard to speak to that, because a lot of times the person that we end up wanting to help is exactly us a couple years ago, before we know, like before we figured out what we know now. So an example of this is like my ideal client now is basically me a couple years ago, because I was a nutritionist, but I had no idea how to turn that into a business that I could run from anywhere. So I still remember very specifically like the things that I was struggling with, the feelings that I was having, the thoughts that were going through my head, the pain points that I struggled with, all of those types of things. So when I'm creating any sort of website copy or trying to get somebody to opt into an email sequence or provide, you know, a webinar or something like that, I can really get back into my brain and be like, what exactly are the things that I was looking for at that time and what would be the most helpful to me? And I can now speak to those things. So I think if you try and think about it that way, try and speak to yourself a couple years ago, it's so much easier to come up with like the verbiage and the content that you need that's going to speak directly to your ideal client. And this is also part of the reason why I end up having people like emailing me all the time that are like, oh my gosh, like you took the words right out of my mouth, or I feel like you just totally understand like what I'm going through. And I'm like, yeah, I do, because I used to be exactly in your same shoes. And that's another really great way to connect with your audience and build trust with them. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you liked it and you are a nutritionist who is trying to stand out online and build a business, give this video a thumbs up, and definitely leave your website or your social media handles below so I can pick them out, and let me know if you want more videos on this. And just a reminder, the Digital Nomad Nutritionist course that teaches you how to build a online nutrition business that stands out from the crowd and is super profitable, is still enrolling, and I'll leave the link below to that so you can check it out. And if you have any questions, you can just comment below or send me an email or chat me from the sales page, okay? I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.